In this video, I'll guide you step by step through the process of creating this advertising design. We will cover everything you need to know from the 0 point to the end. So without wasting any more time, let's dig into business. This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the ultimate all-in-one solution for creating an incredible website. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Noor and this is NourArt channel. So let's start with today's design. This is the design that we're going to make. The main idea, it was an advertising design for a VR headset. So the main idea I want to deliver is that when you are playing using this VR set, you are totally immersed into the game. That's why I tried to mix the reality, which is his couch, his room, with the game itself, the dinosaurs and so on. It's a basic idea, but the execution of this idea is what is making it work. So let's not state the obvious and let's open Photoshop and let's start doing the design. I will start with 4K canvas size and then press create. These are the images that I'm going to use and you will find them in the link in the description so that you can follow along with me. This is the best way you can learn. So let's start with this wooden jungles. Right click, flip it horizontal because I want this tree, this big tree to be visible in the canvas, and I want this lights that is coming from the back. So let's make it a little bit bigger and let's put it right here. That's very nice. So as you have already seen, I will split the design into like two parts, but the part that is having the dinosaur, the jungles, will be bigger. Okay, using the brush, I'll just mask this part. Very nice. So the first thing we're going to start with is correcting these colors to match the color that I wanted. So I'll do this by creating a color balance. Let's create a clipping mask and let's add the color tone that I want. What was in my mind basically is the contrasty color palette between the cyan and the oranges and some accent colors with saturated orange and red. Okay, so this is the main color mode that I wanted. So let's start by the mid-tones. I will add some cyans and maybe some magenta and maybe some yellows. Let's go to the shadows. We will add a ton of blues, something like this, and some cyans, and maybe we can add something like this. Let's just reduce the blues. This is so much. And let's go to the highlights, add some cyans as well, and maybe some blues. And let's see. Here's before, here's after. All right, that's nice. Next, we are going to make it a little bit darker. So let's just add curves adjustment layer and let's make it somehow darker. So something like this would be okay. And we can mask this layer by going to the brushes and the soft-round brush. I will just mask this bright part because I will put the dinosaur in front of this part, which will make contrast with it. Okay, so something like this. Very nice. So let's see, here is before and here is after. Before, after. Very nice. Let's bring the next element, which will be the dinosaur. I will open it into a new project and then let's select it using the select subject tool. I will just select it from here, press Ctrl J to duplicate it, right click, convert it into a smart object because we want to work non-destructively. So let's bring it into the design and let's put it right here. That's very nice. Now we can tweak the background as we want. So let's start by getting this background a little bit to the right because I want to have some contrast between this white or bright space and the dark silhouette of the dinosaur. So let's just remove this link from the background. So let's just press on it and then select everything here and then just move it a little bit to the right. So something like this. Maybe we can make it a little bit to the top. That's great. Very nice. Let's put everything into a group. Now we want to darken the dinosaur and color correct it. So let's do this using basic curves So let's just create a curves adjustment layer, make it a little bit darker, and then let's go to adjustments, color balance, and create a clipping mask. The same process again, add cyans, maybe some greens and some blues maybe. This time I guess we should add some yellows because it doesn't have so much green. Okay, let's go to the shadows. It's basically a process of eyeballing. You need to notice the differences in the colors, and even you can just open the color balance and shift the colors like this until you feel like it is blended. That's it, don't overcomplicate it to yourself. But if you want a more fancy way to color correct images, you can simply create a solid color adjustment layer with like 50% gray or something in a desaturated color, put it above everything and change its blending mode into luminosity. This will give you a color map for the colors that is already here, and if you cannot notice it, you can simply create a hue saturation adjustment layer at the top and increase the saturation to the limit that you can notice the colors. So I'm now removing everything from the equation. I'm removing the saturation, I'm removing the lightness or the brightness, and now you can notice mainly the colors into the design. So this area has a lot of greens and yellows, and here we have some reds, we have some blues as you can see right now, and cyans. So these are just like a check layer, so we can use it combining with the color balance so that we can match the colors. So for example, if we want to match the colors of the dinosaur to the background, we need to add some maybe greens to the midtones and maybe some yellows. Let's see, let's go to the shadows. I guess the shadows here has some blues, so let's add some blues and maybe a little touch cyan, just tweaking the sliders until the image is matching properly. Or something like this, I guess may work. So let's see after removing it. Yeah, I guess this is not bad already. This is a very good way to blend the colors, but sometimes it can be misleading. So I prefer to depend on my eye to see the visual, not just depend on the check layers. And the next thing, we want to increase the contrast between the background and the dinosaur. So we will do this doing some hazing layers. So how can we do this? Is basically by going to the background group and create a solid color adjustment layer. And this will be like desaturated teal, bright color, so something around this area. Then press Ctrl I to invert the mask, and using maybe the soft rounded brush, any fog brush. So let's just bring some fog brush from here, make it bigger, and let's just decrease the flow of the brush and try to paint some fog effect. Obviously it's too much, but we will erase it, just putting some bulks and then erase from them, because I want to make some contrast between the dinosaur and the background, and this is adding some mysteriousness as well. So something like this, maybe we can change its blending mode to screen, I guess. Yeah, let's go with this, and we can edit it later if we don't want it.
Before we go to the next point, let's hear a quick message from today's sponsor, Squarespace. We all know that having a powerful website is crucial for creative individuals like us. Now, I'm not a web designer, and honestly, I don't want to spend countless hours creating my own website from scratch. With the Squarespace, all the complex stuff is already taken care of, allowing you to focus on what you do best, unleashing your creativity. One of the things I love about
Squarespace is that it's amazing in browser editor. It enables me to effortlessly create a website by just dragging and dropping some elements. It's literally easier than any design software. But Squarespace offers much more than that. It provides a wide range of features, including email campaigns, powerful blogging tools, and my personal favorite, website analytics. So you can easily track your website's performance. Plus, Squarespace offers loads of modern and solid templates to choose from, ensuring your website looks stunning.
Make sure to give Squarespace a trial with their free trial, and when you are ready to launch your website, head over squarespace.com/NourArt to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. I'll drop the link in the description. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the tutorial.
So the next element will be the foreground elements, the plants that will be in the foreground. As I'm always saying, if you want to create depth into your photo composites, you need to have some elements close to the camera, some elements into the midground, and some elements into the background. So the thing that is differentiating between these stages is just the atmosphere effect. So let's bring the image of the plants that we will put, and let's open them into a new file. So I will use all these into the foreground. So let's open them into a new file. And the way I'm going to select this is very straightforward and simple. So let's go to select, color range, and choose the white color from the background. Adjust the fuzziness and then press OK. Now we have a selection of the background, but can you notice this 1 or 2 pixels that are already not selected? These pixels, okay, we need to select them as well, because if we don't, and let's just try it, let's create a mask. Let's press Alt and press into the mask, and let's create a solid color, maybe with black into the background. We can notice these fringes. We all hate fringes, guys. So how can we get rid of this? Is simply by contracting the selection and then removing this part. So how can we contract the selection? Let's select this, what we have already done. So I will just press Ctrl and press into the mask. We have now a selection around the pixels. And let's go to select, modify, and contract. Maybe with 2 pixels, that will be okay. And then press OK. Now you can notice that the selection is shifted inwards. And then we can go to the mask again. Maybe we can invert the selection by pressing Ctrl-Shift-I. And then press Alt-Backspace to paint it with black. And as you can see right now, it is selected properly. Maybe we have some areas that is not selected as we want. So let's just go to the solid rounded brush, and let's just paint here with the white color to reveal these parts. That's very nice. Let's just convert this into a smart object, and let's bring it into our project. Put it here. Press Ctrl-T, let's make it smaller, so something like this would work. Let's put it above everything, so I guess here is good. We need another one right here, so let's select a different one, which is this one. It's basically the same process again, so I'm going to select it using color range. That's very nice. Let's bring it into our composite, like this, I guess will work. Very nice. Obviously, the further you go in distance, the magic rule here. The further you go in distance, the less contrasty and the more brightness the elements should. So these elements into the foreground should be dark. So I will correct the colors and the brightness in one layer, and we can do this by simply using curves. This is another way of correcting the colors, and we will see how to do it right now. So let's go to adjustments, and let's create a curves adjustment layer, create a clipping mask. We are dealing with this layer. So let's zoom in a little bit and let's make it a hell lot darker. So something like this, because we want this to be darker than the midground. Okay. Next, we will shift the colors from the channels. Okay, so we have this curves adjustment layer. We have already fixed the lightness values. Let's go to the red channel to shift the colors. So how can we match the colors is basically by noticing what we want from the image. So for example, here, this one, we want to add cyans and we want to add some blues, okay? That's what we want. So let's go to the highlights here and add some cyans, and at the same time in the shadows, let's add some cyans. So for example, when we shift this into the right, we're adding cyans. We are shifting it up, we are adding reds. This is all done to the shadows. Okay, so we are adding some cyans here. Let's go to the greens. Let's see what we need. Maybe add some greens into the highlights and maybe some magenta into the shadows. Just play around with this until you got the sense of it. Okay, so let's go to the blues and add some blues to the highlights and some blues to the shadows. Let's get back to the greens because it has a lot of greens actually. So let's just reduce all these greens. Actually, we need to add magenta, not green. So let's see. All this is done in one layer. So here is before and here is after, and that is the power of curves. And we can simply duplicate this layer by pressing Alt and dragging it and creating a clipping mask and put it above this one. Boom. Now we have the colors are matched properly. The dinosaur needs to be darker, I know, but I want to put the focus on it. I want it to be like a focal point. I want it to catch your attention. That's why I didn't make it very dark. Okay, so we have another element into the foreground, so we will use this as well. Basically, it's the same process of the selections. Put it right into the top, something like this. This will add depth to the design. That's very nice. We can duplicate this layer, curves adjustment layer, and create a clipping mask. Now we are good to go. Maybe we can brighten this area behind the hanging plants. So we can do this by creating an empty layer, and let's just pick any color from this hazing effect and just let's paint it using soft rounded brush, something like this, to just give it depth, you know, and then decrease the opacity. Oh, that's cool. That's cool enough. And we can as well add some hazing effect to the dinosaur into his legs to separate between these plants and the dinosaur. So we will do this into another empty layer the same way with the same color. Just create a hazing effect. This should be behind the plants, somewhere right here, and of course we should decrease the opacity, so something like this will be okay. That's very nice. We are doing a great job right here. Of course, we need to paint some highlights into the dinosaurs, some special effects, but we are firstly putting everything in place so that we can notice it, we can see it, and then we can add whatever we want. Okay, so let's bring the next element, which will be this tree. And the reason why I chose this tree is that it has this flow effect that will make the transition smoother. Because I don't want just to put like a tree right here, splitting it into half, but I want to have like a smoother transition with some rhythm. Okay, that's why I chose this tree. Quick pause. If you are interested in taking your photo manipulation skills to the next level, then I've got you covered, because my premium course, The Ultimate Guide to Photo Manipulation, is now released, and you can check it out into the link in the description. In this course, you will find 11 fully narrated in English photo compositing. We start with the basic idea, putting images together, correcting the lightness, correcting the saturation, the color, atmosphere effects, and final color grading.
rating, and of course I'm explaining every tiny step I took to take you from the 0 point to the end result. You'll find also all the stock images used, the PSD files, and all the brushes used. The link is in the description, and let's get back to the video. So let's go to the tree, select it the same way we did before. It's the same process. Select color range, press OK, and let's see our selection. I guess this is good, but let's just expand the selection with maybe this time 1 pixel. Yeah, this is good. Well, let's press Alt and press into the mask, and we have now the tree selected. Let's bring it into the canvas. Let's put it right here, and let's put it in a proper place. Of course, it should be behind the dinosaur. So let's put it into a group, and let's name it Tree Transition. And let's try to put it into a proper way. Maybe we can make it bigger. And now we need to obviously remove these from the mask in the background. So let's just mask it using a solid color brush. I'll just mask this and this. We're good to go. Final thing we want here is to just match the color and the brightness of this tree to the composition. So we will do the same thing using curves. Create a clipping mask. Let's make this dark, very dark, and then let's create color balance adjustment layer and start to tweak the colors until we are satisfied. Go to the shadows, add some cyans and some blues. Now let's go to the next part, which is the man in the room and adding the effects that we want. So let's bring this image of the man. Let's put it right here. This is the image that I wanted. I wanted an image of a room in a dark room, because I can then put some effects and make it like a gaming room or something, but in a casual way, you know, it's not a PC or something. So I find this image in which we can edit, maybe remove this guy and edit it somehow. So let's just start by increasing the size of this image, so something like this, and then press OK. And let's start by removing this man from here. So I'll just select it like this, and let's bring the generative file taskbar from here. We will use Adobe AI to remove this guy from here, and if you cannot find this bar, you will find it from window contextual taskbar from here. Okay, then press generate, and then write remove man, press generate, and let AI do its magic. Look at this. This is very nice, actually. So we can count on this, and the next step is to expand the canvas. So I'll just select these parts and then this area, and then let's just bring the generative file and press generate. That is not bad. Let's see this one or this one. I guess this one has this interesting lighting right here, so we can go with this, but I feel like we need to remove one of these. So let's just select this area to remove this one. Using the polygonal lasso tool, I'll just select all this area because I want to remove its lights or something. I want to have a better version or a more subtle version from this, because this is very bright, this one is very bright, it will take your eye. Okay, I want a source of light, but it shouldn't be that bright. So let's just press generative file and let's see what can we have. Good enough. It's not the best, but it is good enough. Maybe we can remove this part using the clone stamp. So let's just convert this into a regular layer, rasterize it, and then pick a source from here, make the clone stamp smaller, and just let's clone stamp this part and maybe this part as well. That's very nice. Now we have a more subtle source of light. So let's see, here is before, this is very bright, this is very subtle. Okay, so let's bring all these. So let's see before AI and after AI. That is really nice. Let's just right click, convert all this into a smart object, and let's bring them into our main composite. Press yes, and of course it will not be a clipping mask, it will be behind the background. Let's put it right here. Press Ctrl T, let's make it smaller, fit canvas, and I guess we're good to go. That's very nice composition actually. So let's start by changing the color of this part, because I want to give it like more gaming colors. This is very cozy. It doesn't have this dynamic coloring. So let's just put this into a group and let's create a hue saturation adjustment layer. Create a clipping mask, and then I will shift the colors into more of a cyanish teal color for this layer. So something like this. And then press Ctrl I, and then using the soft rounded brush, of course, not this one, the soft rounded brush, I will paint right here. So this is the main source of light, and let's make it bigger to cover all this area. So it's giving me this dynamic contrast between the orange and teal. You know, complementary colors always work. So that's very nice. I like how it looks. And let's go to the next element, which will be the man. So let's bring it into a new project and let's open it. Obviously, this is not the best image you can work with, but the reason why I got this image is, number one, his bows. As you can already tell, he is kinda looking to something here, or afraid of something. Of course, he's smiling, but he's not afraid of something, but it's gonna work. And the next thing I liked about this image is these rim lights. It's already here. Can you notice it? These rim lights over this area and here. So I will not take a lot of effort in painting some rim lights on these areas. But of course, we will have some contaminated lights. So for example, these rim lights we don't want, so we need to deal with it. But overall, it has everything I need to be put into the design. So let's start by selecting it using select subject. So something like this. And then let's enhance the selection, press shift to add this part. So let's create a mask by pressing into this button, and then let's create a solid color adjustment layer, maybe a black one, into the background, because we want to fix a lot of things into this image. Firstly, let's go and select and fix these edges that was not selected properly. So let's bring the solid rounded brush, and let's bring the graphic tablet right now because we will need it from now on. So let's increase the flow of the brush, and let's start to erase some of these edges. Of course, this is just tweaking the selection. It's gonna take some minutes, so I'll just speed up the process of this part and get back to you. Well, that's very nice. Now we need to get rid of all these halos, these effects. So I'll create a new layer, create a clipping mask, and let's start to remove them by simply maybe painting over these areas. I'll not overcomplicate it. I'll just pick a source using the soft rounded brush, decrease the flow of the brush, and pick a source from here and just try to paint over these areas carefully. Let's decrease the flow of the brush again. So let's see, that's good enough. So let's just put all these two layers into a smart object, and let's bring them into our main composite. Let's put it right here and press Ctrl T, make it smaller
So something like this. Let's start by correcting the lightness and the colors. Let's start with darkening these shadows at first and then put the whole effect globally into the man. So let's start by focusing into this area. I'll make the shadows darker, increase its contrast, and at the same time it should be the absolute darks should not be very dark. So something like this I guess would be okay. And then press Ctrl I to invert the mask, and using the soft rounded brush maybe we can paint over this area. Let's increase the flow, and maybe we can paint over here. Let's see, or after this is better. And now we can create a global curves effect in which we can darken it a little bit and maybe increase the contrast some touch like this. That's not bad. Let's go to the next part, which is color correction. We will do this using color balance. Let's create a clipping mask and let's go to the shadows at first. Add some cyans to the shadows, maybe some magenta, let's see, or green. Just try and error, Maybe add some blues and then add some green. So something like this would be okay. Not too much. Let's go to the highlights. Maybe into the highlights, add some yellows and touch of green. And maybe a touch of red. Let's go to the midtones, do the same thing. Something like this. Before and after, subtle yet very realistic effect. Or after. That's very nice. I guess we need to remove this effect from this part because we have two light sources with two different colors. So this is more cyanish, what we have already done, this color correction. So we can remove it from the left part using the mask and soft rounded brush. I'll just remove it from here. So this part is more cyanish, this is more reddish or more orangey. That's very nice. Let's go to the next part, which is creating a shadow, obviously, here. So I'll do this simply creating an empty layer. And let's just pick any color from the surrounding very dark ones or something like this. And let's change the shape of the brush to be more elongated. And let's start by creating the contact shadow, which is any shadow that's between two surfaces. So something like this. And here as well. So this is the contact shadow. And then let's decrease the flow, make the brush bigger, and we can then, oops, this is very intense. We can create like elongated one like this. Let's see. This is not bad. Let's erase it from some parts, but we have something that needs to be fixed here in terms of color, which should be fixed manually. We will create a new layer, clip it to the man, and with the same color that we have already painted the shadow with, we can just paint over, oops, the brush. We can just paint over this area like this to reduce the transition between the shadow and the shoe. Or something like this. Let's see. Of course, this is very dark, but we will decrease the opacity. Something like this will be better, I guess. Yeah. And the shadows also needs to be adjusted a bit. So it's just process of try and error. So that's good enough. Let's see, here's before, here's after. That's good enough. Now it's time to paint the highlights. So this will spice everything up, putting some effects, and we are good
to go. So let's start by the main source of light, which will be this bulb. I'll start analyzing. This is the source of light, so we may have some rim lights over this tree, which will be as well aesthetically good. So some rim lights right here in these areas. This is for this source of light, and for the dinosaur we should have some ambient light that is coming from the surrounding, the sky, and the source of light that is in this part. So we will do this using a solid color. Let's create a solid color adjustment layer, and it will be with maybe some color like this. Press OK. Create a clipping mask, change its blending mode maybe to screen or linear dodge. Let's see. I guess color dodge is good, but it's very saturating the color. So let's go to the linear dodge, and at the same time let's decrease the fill. Let's see. That's very nice. Let's double click into the layer, remove some parts from the shadows. So I'll just remove the color from the shadow. Press Alt to smoothen the transition, and I guess that is nice. Maybe the color, this color is more, we need to shift the colors to more of a greenish color. So let's shift it like this, and maybe we can increase its saturation to match this one. Or something like this will be okay, and we can change its color later because this is a solid color. Very nice. Let's bring any textured brush. So for example, this brush we can use, and then let's paint the highlights over there, decrease the flow, and carefully paint the highlights here. Okay. Of course, it should not be uniform into all of the tree. So try to make some very intense highlights parts, and then some parts that doesn't have these highlights. Let's make the brush smaller, and let's paint them here. We need to also make sure that we are following the shape or the form of the object that we are painting highlights on. So if something is rounded, we need to make our strokes rounded. If we have, for example, some parts like this one, we need to make the brush very small and paint it carefully like this. So it takes some practice. I have a full video explaining how to paint light and shadows precisely. Of course, it should not be 100% ultra realistic. We're not painters, but having a basic knowledge about digital painting helped me a lot, actually, if you are into photo manipulation. That's very nice. Let's see. There's before, there's after, before, after. It's really bringing this part into life. So the next part will be this dinosaur. We'll do the same process again. Let's go to dinosaur and create a solid color adjustment layer with maybe some greenish color like this. Let's create a clipping mask, and let's see. No, this is very cyanish. Let's just pick it from the surroundings, so something like this, I guess, and then maybe we can shift it towards the blues like this. That's not bad. And then double click on it, remove it from the shadows, press Alt of course to split the cursor, and let's just remove it like this. It's okay. Maybe change its blending mode maybe to screen. I guess screen is good, but we need to shift the colors again. Something like this will be okay. That's very nice. Just Control I to invert the mask, and now we can paint the highlights, this time using the same brush again. So let's paint it into his tail, into these top parts.
So that's very nice. Let's see here's before and after. It's giving us a very good touch. So the final thing is adding some final cool touches to the design. So we will start with this smoke overlay. It will give us depth between the dinosaur and the foreground plants. So I'll just tweak it like this, and it will enhance the transition between the two parts. So let's just change its blending mode into screen. Press Ctrl U to colorize it. Ctrl U, oops. Press Ctrl U to colorize it. Press colorize and give it some cyanish color. Maybe we can increase the saturation of it. Press OK. Of course, this is too much, so let's create a mask. Press Ctrl I to invert the mask. And using the soft rounded brush, we can just paint like this. Obviously, this is too much, so we need to decrease its opacity. That's very nice. Next, let's paint some lights effects into his eye, because I want two things. I want to put some complementary color in this part. I want to have contrast, so I will put orange and red color right here in this part. At the same time, I want your eye to go straight forward to the dinosaur. So I'll do this using maybe solid color again with very saturated orange. It's okay. Change its blending mode this time into maybe color dodge. Press Ctrl I to invert the mask. And then I will paint it with two layers. The first one with the ordinary hard rounded brush. I'll just paint over his eye like this. I guess this is very saturated color. Let's check it. Oh, that's good, but it's very saturated actually. Just decrease its saturation. So something like this would be okay. And then duplicate it, change its blending mode into linear dodge this time, and then change the color to more saturated one. Something like this. Ctrl A, Alt backspace to fill it with black. And now we can use the solid color brush, this one, to paint some like effects like this. But we want to reduce the flow, so something like 9%. And let's give it some rhythm, so something like this. And then we can just remove or erase from it. Okay. I'm now using the solid color brush. Yeah, it's giving us a very good effect. You can do this using gradient map as well. See, maybe we can tweak it. Press Ctrl T. Using the warp, we can just warp it and tweak it as we want. So something like this is really nice. Yeah, look at this. Okay, we can do the same thing, the same effect here into this bulb. So let's go to the man, and at this time we will create a solid color with red color. So something like this will be okay, and change its blending mode maybe to screen. Press Ctrl I, and using the same hard rounded brush, I just paint effect like this, and then try to replace some parts. I guess this is good already. That's very nice. Maybe we can bring the man and this group a little bit to the right to adjust the composition. Yeah, this is better. And now the final step, which is camera raw filter. We will start the color grading using creating a new layer at the top of everything. Press Alt Ctrl Shift E, and then right click, convert it into a smart object, and then let's go to filter and camera raw filter. Here we can change or move every slider we can until we get the best results. Let's see. Okay. Here is before. Here is after. Very, very nice. Alright guys, that was it for today. If you want to have the maximum benefit from this class, you need to apply it with your own images, with maybe tweaking the idea, maybe changing the color mode or the color grading. This will make your brain make connections, and this will increase your learning curve drastically. And again, as mentioned, if you want to improve your photo manipulation skills, my course, The Ultimate Guide to Photo Manipulation, is now released, and you can find it in the link in the description. Yeah, see you soon in the next classes. Peace.